Hey, welcome back forward for the road, everybody. I'm your host, Punk Rock. It's just me and Andar here today. And full disclosure, we're just probably going to keep this one in our back pocket for a rainy day in case we can't get everybody together. But we had some extra time, so we figured we'd throw this one down for you guys. So how you doing today, Andar?
Dude, it's great. Like, we might even scratch this, then they'll never fucking know that
Yeah,
we even made it. Or it'll be out Monday, one of the two, or
yeah,
Tuesday, or whatever.
we'll figure it out, right? We'll
Right?
find out when they find out.
Maybe it'll be like the best show we've ever done, but it can't be without Drifter. So yeah, maybe we'll just back pocket it.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. With especially with the insight that Tragic gives, and all the history that Drifters lived. That's it's making for a good show. And then the guys are just stuck with me today, and you're great. You're always great. You
We're
self-deprecating.
hoping, we're hoping that Tragic's gonna message us while we're making this, so we can throw this piece of shit away, and he's gonna be like, "All right, I'm ready. Let's record." So that's the best case scenario. So if you never hear this, there's an entire list of fuck yous that I'm about to give out. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so either we'll use this one or Tragic's going to message us and we're going to throw this one in the garbage heap. But anyway, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, we were kind of talking about earlier. We were kind of talking about the similarities between the military and the motorcycle culture, not just the club culture, but the motorcycle culture.
Yeah,
Well,
I think you're right. I think that we, we're a motorcycle based show. We're all kind of centered around clubs, obviously. Obviously, clubs have a deep kind of history with the military. And I think sometimes, kind of that thing to unpack is how do we feel as veterans, or if you're currently serving or whatever, going from one culture to another, and kind of what crosswalks. So not so much looking at the club aspect of a military vet should do this when looking for a club, or it's military clubs should act like this, or none of that. More so looking at the dynamic of just being like yourself. For those that don't know, you're active duty. I said duty, or or being a vet. And there's just so many things that you hit on that kind of crosswalk or share similarities. I thought it might be something worth hitting on.
yeah, I mean, I definitely think so. Um, Definitely more. I see this more in the veteran community, where their biggest thing that they miss is not the service itself, but the people. It's the smoke pit stories or the barracks parties and that kind of thing that they miss the most. And it's not necessarily the work or the regulations or the uniform inspections or anything like that. It's the camaraderie and the brotherhood that they had. And I think that that's why a lot of bikers or a lot of veterans become bikers, whether it's during or shortly after their hitch is up, because they're trying to find that again.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I think in a general kind of sense, not we're not going to nitpick every single trait that you need to bring to the service or to the motorcycle club world, but a large part of it is nobody that you want to hang out with goes around calling themselves a good biker or a good club guy, or
Yeah.
you might hope that you're a good brother, but most guys aren't going to say, "I'm the best brother that there's ever been." You might say, "I try my best to be a damn good brother," but for the most part, the guys you want to hang out with and associate with aren't going to beat their chest about their accomplishments. And it's the same in the service. I think, people ask me about my military service and stuff like that. I would hope anyway that I'm never one to start a conversation with, how awesome I was, but rather, kind of let your reputation among your peers kind of do that talking. And I think that's kind of a similarity in the motorcycle club world, as you build your reputation all over again, and your peers are going to be the ones that determine whether or not you're a good brother, just the same as whether or not I was a good soldier.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a great example of this. There's a dude named Socks. He's in San Diego. You guys heard me mention him before, like my mentor or a really good friend of mine that's down there. I've talked about him a lot. Um, and he's that guy. He doesn't beat his chest saying, "Oh, I'm the biggest, baddest motherfucker around here." He doesn't talk about how he's the only one that's following protocol or anything like that. He leads by example. He's humble about it, and he's just a generally good dude. People want to be around him. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I want to, that's why I talk to him as often as I can. And honestly, man, like the shit that we talk about is really just life, and sometimes it'll get back to the motorcycle club community. And, that's just kind of lending more credence to your statement there is he's the dude that you want to hang out with isn't the most pompous jackass at the fucking wherever you're at.
And I think, like you said, for you, when you're looking at getting back into a club, not so much what you're looking for, but what they're going to be looking at is your character and your reputation and how you conduct yourself, among other things. But those are traits that are very similar, like you described in this guy that's already in a club. Those are traits that are very similar to what you and I, just speaking for you and I, would expect in people that we serve with. For the most part, when we talk about the barracks parties or deployments or all the crazy shit or the 3 a.m., the 3 a.m. musters or whatever, going to the arms room and drawing weapons for something that doesn't start until 7 a.m. and all this other shit. Those are always the most fun with guys that you wanted to associate with and wanted to be around. And you kind of had a way of drawing those people closer to you. And kind of, I mean, you're in the military, you can only pick and choose so much who you can associate with. But, the shitheads in your unit and stuff like that, there was a way that you kind of ate your own, and got rid of those guys or made them a non-impactful part of what you're doing. And I think the motorcycle club scene is very similar in that guys that aren't somebody that you want to associate with or have those memories with, or that bond with, they're not going to make it. Or if you see those kind of people in a club, you're going to not want to be a part of that club. And I think that's something that's kind of very similar.
Oh, 100%. 100%. It's like, and as you're, describing like these horrible times, like you said, the 3 a.m. musters for something that doesn't pop off till 7. It's never just that run where it was just like, oh yeah, man, it was cool. We started here, we went there. There were no problems in the road, no problems, at the campsite or at the hotel, whatever you do, and everything was great there and back, and we had a great time. Those aren't the good stories. It's the stories that get told are about how Billy fucking, his chain blew apart when we were 30 miles out in the middle of nowhere, so we had to go back, get a new chain, bring it back, and then 40 miles later, this dude lost a fucking ECM and we had to figure out how to get his bike from here to there. And it's always just this suck that brings everybody together. And I think that there's a lot of that in our world as well, especially during the prospect phase. There's a lot of shit that doesn't make sense to you and it's kind of fucking miserable, but you got your homies with you, so it's a little more bearable.
Yeah, and like you hit on, that's that similarity, that's that relationship between starting off in the club world, or when you're looking at a club that maybe you want to step up to, etc., and kind of what you're experiencing in the service. When you're probating or prospecting, you've got kind of those mundane tasks that you have to get through. What makes them better is up. You guys that are going to hopefully patch in that year with you, your class or whatever. And those can make the mundane tasks more bearable. Same thing in the military. The shit sucks and you're like, man, this is really stupid sometimes. But, you get to where you're going. You're just happy to see some of your buddies. You're just happy to to bullshit with some of your homies to get through it. You know, there's probably other places that you would rather be, but you got to be here. And these are the guys that are gonna create the stories with you, like you mentioned.
Yeah, man. God, I'm like stuck in my back in my younger days, but you know, with these memories floating around now. But you know, you brought up something too, your reputation. Um, Personally, I feel that it's easier to kind of move about this world when you don't have a reputation, especially when you're looking at prospectively joining a club, right? Like one of the things that's terrifying to me is I know that a lot of people put us up on a pedestal, and I don't like that because I don't feel like I rate it, you know, because I'm just some dude. I get up, I go to work, I come home, and you know that's you know I do my shit, you know. Um, but having that expectation of what these people might perceive us as is more daunting to me than the prospect phase, because now there's like this standard that I have to see if that's I have to figure out what they think we are, and then I have to live
So,
up to that. Do you know, like, does that make sense?
and I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm gonna change your wording and tell me if you like it. I don't think pedestal is the right phrase that we're looking for, that you're looking for. I'm not going to use it. I think that people respect us, probably Jim more than anybody else. But I think that they respect that they would, you know, have a soda with us. They would have a beer with us. They would shoot the shit. They would tell us stories. And I think that we have earned that respect to be somebody that you can share a story with. Because if you're a legit guy, if you're a legit dude in the MC world, you probably don't tell your stories to just anybody. And I think even us using a public platform, because we just love to share, to talk, to bullshit, to teach, whatever, you know, to share history, to preserve it, whatever the case may be. We don't necessarily share all of our personal stories with everybody, or if we do, we change things and stuff like that. Because I think if you're any kind of somebody that with I don't even know what the right word is, you're just not going to share all that stuff with just Joe Blow off the street. And I think what we've been able to do here is earn a reputation that people kind of give us. I don't know, benefit, not the benefit of the doubt, not respect. I mean, yeah, yes, respect, but whatever the phrase is, to want to, you know, have those conversations with us. I think we've earned that. And I hope that we continue to earn that. And I hope that comes through to people. And I think that's kind of what you're getting at. Am I right?
Yeah, and you're way better with wording than I am, so I'll take it.
I'm trying to think of like a really like drifter fancy $3 word that I could use, and I'm not finding the right one. But yeah, I feel like, you know, we've presented ourselves truthfully as people that just really care about the culture and want to just talk about it all the time and learn what we can and share what we think we know, and just be around dudes that are like us. And that's the greatest part about the internet. And I think, you know, going back to our military tie-in, like that was the same thing. Like now when I'm, and I don't know if it's the same for you being in still, but like for me being a vet, I don't think it's healthy to always try to compartmentalize experiences that we have and be that tough, stoic, silent veteran. And I don't know if it's the same for guys on active duty still or not. Maybe it is. But I don't want to share my stories with just anybody. And I'm not trying to be an elitist, but I think it's the same for the motorcycle culture. You know, there's things that I don't want to share, or stories that I'm not going to tell to just anybody that I meet in a bar with an MC patch on or an RC patch or whatever. And I'm not trying to disrespect an RC or whatever. I'm just saying it's the same thing in the veteran community with this kind of tie-in show, is that, you know, I want to share my shared experiences with people that I want to that I want to be around, that I feel a kinship with, a connection to. Maybe I aspire to be like you in the MC world, or or I want to have the experiences that you had, etc. And I think that's kind of something that you know we share here. We try to find like-minded individuals thanks to social media, and share those experiences and talk about them.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it kind of goes a little deeper than that too. Is you kind of want to share those experiences with somebody who has been through something similar. You know, like there's stuff that you and I won't talk about. And I feel like we're pretty fucking close. And I know that, and it's because I haven't had those same experiences that you have, and especially when you're coming up with somebody like just up on the street, speaking strictly like about being a veteran is, I think the number one. I don't really want to call it a fear. I'm kind of at a loss for words for this one, but like the thing that people like, they're just waiting for this. So did you shoot anybody? Did you kill anybody? They're waiting for that, and then it's similar to the MC world where it's just like, oh well, like, do you guys do this? Do you guys do that?
Yeah, yeah. You put on an MC vest, and they want to know, how much coke you've dealt that day, or you know what's Jack's teller like, or whatever, for people that are on the outside. And it's very similar when you're in uniform. People that aren't in the community, that they haven't served or whatever, they have preconceived kind of notions, and sometimes it's easier to cold shoulder them, blow them off, whatever the word is, versus trying to explain to them. And I don't, I'm not holding anyone's ignorance or whatever against them. There's certainly tons of things that I don't know about and would be completely ignorant about. But there's just always, like I said, not always stuff that you want to share with everybody. And then you can't change how somebody perceives that. Whatever you give to them is totally up to them to receive it however they want, and take away from it that you are just a quiet person or you're a complete fucking asshole. That's
Yeah.
kind of on them.
Yeah, I mean, so like going back to that like stoic silent veteran, I I think it's really just a flavor of whatever that community wants. I think that's what that person's going to be. If like speaking on a club, like if they want this dude's history is credibility, right? And if he's feeling, we'll say insecure, and wants to talk about it, wants that to be his like defining feature, yeah, I think that's going to happen. But I also think that this community is so saturated with veterans that I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but it's not as impressive as maybe that organization might want it. Does that make sense?
And I'd love to absolutely, and I'd love to piggyback, because I think what you've got there is, it's not like you said, it's not that this community, the MC world, doesn't give a fuck, but we don't give a fuck. And what I mean is the great thing about this is, if you're one of those veterans, or even a bike, even an MC guy, that the only way that you're going to get your rocks off, the only way you're going to nut, is by telling people what you did in the service or what kind of badass biker you are. That's not going to work for you here. Nobody in this community, because like you said, we are so vet heavy and saturated, nobody's really going to give a shit. Now, somebody might see your seal pin or your sweat pin or a green beret label or whatever. Hey, that's pretty cool. Whatever, cool. But if you're a dude that needs that free meal and that validation, you're not going to find it here without earning it. Nobody is going to simply pat your back and rub your bottom or whatever because you served.
100%, man. And it kind of goes with, I mean, like you said, man, a seal pin, that's top tier shit. And people are just kind of like, oh, you were a SEAL. Like, yeah, oh, that's rad, dude. So, how about them Knicks? Like, it's not. And if you're, I see this a lot, and I'm not trying to bag, but I see it a lot in the Seabees, and I see it a lot in Army infantry, where dudes will try to, either they just talk about it a lot, or they try to blow up their experiences that they've had, to make them sound more like part of a like fierce fighting force. Like, bro, this is what I did. Where, you know, then we have, you know, Billy the Seal and Jim the Swick and this other dude who's a Green Beret and this other dude that was Dev Group, and just like, yeah, dude, that's cool. Whoop you fucking do. Like, that dude's automatically already alienated himself from that group of people. You know, and I'm just really just kind of fucking asking veterans not to, you know, just be happy with what you did, because this is a real small community.
And make no mistake, like, you're 100% correct. Like, and being an infantry guy myself, I saw like that guy who, you know, his whole identity was wrapped around being in the infantry and stuff like that. Like, there are definitely those guys, and they exist in all walks of life. And, you know, in the MC community, you see him too. It's the guy on his Harley who goes to an event. He goes to the Harley dealer. He goes to a bike night. Maybe even goes to a party. I don't know. But every single one of his cousins and his dad and I don't his 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon was a fucking 1%er or the founding member of this club, this historical club or whatever. And that's his identity. And whether or not it's true, to me, is irrelevant. The fact that, let's say it is true, every last bit of it's fucking true. That the fact that it's your entire, the identity. These guys, they get so wrapped up. It's their whole kind of identity and how they, I guess, their self-worth almost. Whether that's because they went on a deployment in the Army, Marines, Navy, Air Force, whatever, or because they had a family member that was in this big bad motorcycle club, it becomes who they are more so than who the fuck they are, if that makes sense. Like,
No, 100%.
And I think it's something that I've noticed for, you know, I don't speak for any other writers at Four for the Road. You know, I think for myself, it's very much, and what I notice in them too, I think, is there's pride. There's a little bit of, you have to have a little bit of ego because you want to be good at what you did in the service and what you're doing in your motorcycle club, but it doesn't control you. It doesn't rule your day. Your ego isn't something that has to be stroked. It's there because you want to present yourself as somebody that is giving 110% to your family, to your club, to your service, whatever the case may be. But it doesn't define you. Does that make sense? I don't ever believe the person that has to tell me to my face that they don't have an ego. I don't believe you. If you have to tell me you don't have an ego, you have an ego.
Yeah, because your ego's driving you to say that you don't have one.
Yeah, it's like I want to associate myself with the people that can teach me how to better manage my ego, compartmentalize it, whatever the case may be, to be a better person. Because it exists. Let's acknowledge that it exists. And it's the same thing in the veteran community. You very much wanted to go to schools as a CB, as an infantry guy, as a fucking, you wanted to go to BUDS or SWIC school because you had a little bit of an ego that you wanted to be among the best in your business. And that's the same when you find a club. It's because you want to prove yourself to this club. It's because to you, your situation, your feelings, what you're looking for in a brotherhood, that's the pinnacle right there. And for you, and either that's going to be for the rest of your club life or until you move into something different because now you've crested a new pinnacle or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But so like we were talking about, it's hard. It's very easy and it's very hard at the same time to be a veteran in the motorcycle community. We've said it 1,000 times, like, your military service is great, but it's done nothing except by expectations that you should be able to handle what's thrown at you. You should be used to dealing with the adversity of a probate or prospect phase. You should understand commitment, camaraderie, brotherhood, sacrifice, someone else before yourself. That's really the only thing that your service is going to get you in the MC world, unless you're looking to join a vets only club, which is fine. But they should have the same expectations for you.
Yeah, and that's probably one of my favorite articles that you've written, was discussing that, and I like how you just summed that up, just right there. Is that the only thing that your service has bought you in this life is just an expectation that you now have to uphold. But it's kind of funny because you're gonna get one of those two guys, right? And I think there's been a lot more recently, with a bunch of dudes getting out of the military. We're still at war, but we're not at war. Like we're still sending dudes over to the desert, but they're not. There is a like an advisory position. We're not conducting extremely major combat operations like we used to be.
And if you are a guy, and I don't know everything about the spec ops community. I don't know everything about being a ranger. There are guys that have tons more deployments than me. I have 3. There's guys out there that probably have 4 times that, 5 times that.
No.
But if you sit down in a conversation with me, with anybody else, and the first thing that you want to tell me is about how much combat you have, I don't believe you. I want to see a DD-214. Even at the pinnacle of surges and what we've done in Iraq and Afghanistan, you've probably spent at best a quarter of your career in kinetic, actual firefights, like actual taking rounds, sending rounds down range, what we call a TIC, troops in combat, the actual kinetic portion of your military career. Yeah, the most like devish, groupish, sealish, rangerish dude that everybody wants to fucking bust the nut on, maybe a quarter of their career, if that. So if you sit down and you tell me about what a badass dude you are and how many dudes you've killed or how many gunfights you've been in, I 100% don't believe you. Please pick a different stool.
Yeah. Like there was a story we heard about some dude that spent like 4 years in the army, but he's got like 40 confirmed kills and 8 million fucking deployments, and that's something that I wanna look. I know nobody goes in trying to fucking lie to an MC and be like, oh, I'm gonna tell him that I was a SEAL Ranger SWIC MARSOC guy, and I've got 90,000 confirmed kills, and I did my entire career on deployment fighting the enemy. I know nobody goes into that conversation, but and I get that people feel like they have this need to impress, right? That ego that Andar was talking about. We have people that can find this shit out. You know what I'm saying? Like we all have friends that can look things up. Right? Don't go into this fucking world where our number one tenet is respect. And if you lie to me, you obviously don't respect me. Don't come into this world trying to inflate your service. Right? And it's not like, and I realize, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Dave, I realize that part of this show we've been kind of shitting on veterans, right? And I think it's rightfully so, but we're also not trying to just shit on veterans.
I hope people don't think we've been shitting on veterans. I think we're talking kind of our preferences, our experiences, and I think we've kind of drawn a line between that veteran that you and I, or that military member you and I hope to be, and those that we want to associate with, and the fucking dipshits that are out there. Are some absolute dipshits, and I don't mean to cut you off, but real quick, for any veteran club guys, whether you're veteran specific, military specific, or whether you're just a legit motorcycle club that has veterans in it, I would love to hear comments. Send it to the inbox, write it under the show head or whatever, about guys that have come in that you've chased away with fucking ridiculous claims of Rambo-ness or veteran bullshit. I would love to hear some of those stories, because I bet there are just some fucking ringers out there. There are probably just some pervasive ones. But I'm sorry, what were you saying?
No, I kind of got caught up on that because now I'm sitting here rolling through some of the shit that we've heard in the inbox, And just some of the guys that I encountered,
Oh, yeah, and I think that would be a great show by itself. Like, call
yeah.
it like prospects run down or hang-arounds or whatever, run down the road and like the reasons why.
And I do have to kind of give these dudes a benefit of the doubt, right? Because sometimes their service is all they have, like you said. That's their entire identity, right? And I spoke about this guy before, Mike. I call him hop around, hop along, whatever. He lost his leg. Um, when Mike first started hanging around my former club, that's all that he would talk about was how he was a greenside corpsman and combat this and fucking oorah that. And it was just kind of like, hey man, like you can talk about other things. Like I get, my club's mainly comprised of veterans and active duty, but you can talk about other things. It's okay.
Right? I'm like, are we gonna drink out of this leg or what?
What's up?
Did he have a fake leg? Because I'd be like, are we gonna drink out of this leg or what's going on? What are we doing?
So he lost that leg recently. He had two working legs when he started hanging around, and it was kind of annoying. And when he first started prospecting,
He was annoying as fuck with two good legs.
And I told him to his face, I was the only no vote. And everybody just kind of looked at me and they're like, "Well, Punk Rock, why you vote no?" I was like, "I just don't fucking like the kid. All he does is talk about, all he does is fucking talk about work. I don't want to fucking talk about it. I'm not here to fucking talk about work. If I wanted to talk about work, I'd be at work talking about work. And they're like, well, I got overridden, and they told me basically I was just being a bitch and that I needed to calm down, and they let him prospect. And then when he started prospecting and he got to know us a little bit, he rarely spoke about work. The only time he spoke about work is like, hey, we're going to go do this. Oh, man, I can't do this. I got to work. That was it. So kind of take that with a grain of salt. Try to, work on this kid a little bit. And I'm speaking to you, listeners. Work on that kid a little bit to try to get to know him. So that way he'll talk about other shit other than the military. Because now we don't talk about the military. You know what I'm saying? Like, he'll ask me how work's going, but that's about it. He won't be like, oh, yeah, dude, back in fucking Da Nang when I was a fucking corpsman. And then I have nothing but love and respect for this dude now because we've connected on a fucking personal level that went beyond work, that went beyond, the motorcycle club stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now he's one of the men I respect the fucking most in my life. This dude's younger than me and I look up to this motherfucker. Just because of some of the shit that he has overcame in his life, and it's just kind of more of an ask of the listeners to kind of just dig through some of the bullshit and fucking get those kids to settle down because they're gonna make great brothers one day, once you get to know them.
And if they have a fake leg, drink out of it. We had a guy, I'm not gonna mention the club, I'm not gonna mention any names. But I love these guys. They're fucking phenomenal. But we had a guy. He lost his leg. Great dude. He's a vet, but he didn't lose his leg in service. But great club, great dude. And I was hanging out with him at Mama Tried, and I'm sitting at the bar, and this is like right before like COVID like exploded, right? So we're in a packed bar, and it's at Mama Tried, and I literally just like shot my load all over Rusty Butcher. And I'm trying to think about how I'm going to calm down from that. And I'm at the bar and I turn, like just kind of slightly turn with a new drink. And this dude has his mixed drink propped up on his foot, except his foot is upside down and it's fucking next to him. He had taken his leg off, set it next to him at the bar, put his drink on the bottom side sole of his shoe. And the bouncer comes by, sees this shit, does a double take, grabs the person next to him and points at his shoe. So yeah, drink out of their fucking legs. If they don't have two good ones, drink out of that thing.
Fuck yeah. What I do have to give him some props for is I know a lot of dudes that, if they were to lose a leg, they would quit riding. This motherfucker was like, man, I can't ride with this prosthetic that I got. So I got to fucking fabricate a new one that I can ride with. And he fucking did it. You know what I'm saying? So, props to you, Mike. Proud of you, man. Sorry, I just had to fucking throw that in there. Also, for for the listeners, I'm a little drunk, and I am probably going down rabbit holes and fucking rambling more often than I
You know
normally.
what? At least we highlighted. We just gave two great examples of good vets. So there you go. Be happy.
You're a good vet, man. Let's talk about Mr. Andar real quick. You're a dude that's
So
done some shit, right?
no, not more than anybody else. I spent
Oh,
10 years in the service. I've got three
I
deployments.
hold on.
Um,
Okay, hold on, Mr. Humble. You're just it was yes or no, right? So you've done some shit. You've got some deployments under your belt.
yeah,
You raised your hand twice to join two different services.
and I also got stop loss. I got stop. Fuck you. I got stop loss. Thanks a lot, George Bush.
Thanks, Army. And then you're still in a community that serves veterans, trying to help them reintegrate into society. But you don't talk about that.
For work, yeah, not for club stuff, but for work.
Well, yeah, that's I'm not trying to get too deep into it, right? But you talk about your military service, and even like with the interactions that we have in our chat, you're not this whole fucking beat my chest. I was fucking Army infantry, or I was a fucking insert rate here in the Navy. You're just yep. I was fucking there. I did that. That's cool. So hey, like look at this fucking video that I just shot because it was fucking hilarious. Stuff like that. You don't have any of those really characteristics of like bro vets that we call today, right? Those dudes that are like wearing t-shirts like the one I'm wearing right now, and camo shorts that they cut out of their fucking pants like I'm also doing right now. But but I haven't left my house in almost fucking a month. So
I think the vets that I want to hang out with, and even the active duty guys like yourself that I want to. You have to be your own worst critic, and I think it's a hard line to walk between being overly hard on yourself and being not even humble, but just being self-aware of what you've done or who you are and stuff like that. And I think nobody should be harder on you than you are on yourself. And I think a popular saying is nobody gives a fuck, and it's not to be mean. It's just that don't wait around for accolades from somebody else. Just go on to the next thing that makes you happy. If that's not in the bike world, as you leave service, that's fine. You don't have to be a biker just because you were in the military. I think so many guys struggle when they leave, and that's why I like you and I have talked before about your plans post service. You're like, well, I can't do this because of this. Fuck that. Like whatever is going to give you purpose post military, I want guys to find that, because that is harder than PTSD. That is harder than, I would argue, I have all my limbs. I have a service injury where only part of my right leg works, but I don't know what it's like to lose a limb. But I would argue that finding purpose outside of uniform is harder than anything else, because you have such an identity, just like in the motorcycle club world. When you're in service, you have a purpose. You get up every morning, and whether or not it's the most cheesy fucking thing, because you're like me and you're on the USS Saipan and you're fucking like scrubbing something with a toothbrush to make it shine, but they're about to next year use this thing as missile practice. Or when I was in the Army, getting up at 3 a.m. to have a layout for something that's not going to start until 8 a.m. You have a purpose, and that's what you have to find, no matter what it is. Some people, write a book, be a motorcycle mechanic, be a great dad. Whatever is going to kind of fulfill you and give you purpose, that's what you got to find, and that's the hard part.
Absolutely, man. And it's kind of, I know there's a lot of dudes out there that's like me, where I look at my job and it's just that. It's just a job. I don't, I chose this. So I don't feel personally that I deserve these discounts or fucking a bunch of thank you for your service, whatever. It's just like, hey, I smoked too much weed in high school to get in college. So this was my fallback plan. This is the male equivalent of fuck it, I'll be a stripper for me. And it's hard because I have this kind of like way about going about life where I have this job, it doesn't define me. It's part of me, but it doesn't define me. And even though like you walk around, you think about that, I still have in the back of my mind, you know, I'm gonna fucking warfighting force for my country. So it's extremely difficult, and I implore you guys to kind of think about that when you're getting ready to transition as well.
And don't be an NCO, don't be a fucking petty officer, a chief, whatever, telling your younger guys that they're not going to be able to do shit when they get out of service. There's so many opportunities available. Nurture those guys that want to get out. Don't belittle dudes that don't want to do 20 years. Support dudes that do, but help people when they want to get out. Don't tell them there's nothing out here for them. Don't write them off because they're not going to be your concern as soon as they ETS or whatever. Again, these are still guys that you theoretically could have died next year. Now, maybe the only thing that we did together was, shit together and burn it. But, I hate when people tell guys that there's nothing for them on the outside. That's horseshit.
So I'm asking your permission here because I am kind of drunk. Can I tell a story about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I forget what year it was, but it was in my first. I was at my first battalion in San Diego, and there was this dude. I'm gonna leave his last name out. His name's David, and he was very much like this fucking punk kid from Baltimore, but cared about his job and did it well. But the military bearing was like just fucked with this kid. Goes on deployment to Iraq with the SEAL teams as a support guy, comes back, and it's even worse, right? He's just like, yeah, bro, to chiefs and shit like that. And it was just bad all around for this guy, right? And then finally, he was, he made up his mind, I'm getting out of the Navy. Fuck this, I'm done. And then I heard everybody. I heard second classes, which is the E5 for you guys that don't understand Navy ranks. Second classes, first classes, chiefs telling this kid like, oh bro, like you got tattoos, and this is before like the giant tattoo acceptance thing kind of happened. It's like, well, you got tattoos all up and down your arm. You're not gonna be able to make it in the civilian world. You should just stay in the Navy. Oh, your fucking mouth is gonna get you fired from a job. Well, this motherfucker recently just graduated with his doctorate in nuclear physics, or I'm sorry, nuclear medicine. So this motherfucker's a doctor, like MD, and he just graduated with his PhD in nuclear medicine. So that's my point, guys. Like, that's kind of the point of the story here is don't tell motherfuckers that they got nothing to do outside of the Navy. I'm having trouble figuring out what I'm going to do just because I don't know what I want to do. But don't tell these motherfuckers they got a plan. Oh, yeah, there's nothing outside of this for you. You need to just stay in. Because then surprises like that'll happen all the fucking time. All the fucking time. That's all I got.
And I think to your point too, it's also on us as veterans to make sure that we're taking advantage of the things that are available to us. Like myself, right? So I got out. I did 10 years. I got out. I didn't take advantage of dick while I was in, except for partying and impregnating women that I probably shouldn't have impregnated. And I didn't, and then I got out and I took advantage of some of these benefits that I had, and I was able to get a degree. And then I realized that I had more benefits left over, and I was able to improve upon that degree. And so, don't panic if you are like a lot of vets like myself and you kind of pissed away the extras that you could have taken advantage of while you were in, because you're going to have time, not time, I'm sorry, that's the wrong word. You're going to have things that are available to you post-service. However, nobody is going to come up and there's no butler that meets you outside the gates when you ETS and says, hey, here's a nice list of stuff that's available to you. Make sure that you take advantage of this. You're going to have to fucking find it. People aren't just going to tell you about it. And don't do yourself a disservice and not go out there and do it for whatever you want to do. Whether you want to fucking use your benefits to be a mechanic, or you want to go get your nuclear medicine doctorate or whatever. Fucking trust me, there is shit out there that will help you achieve that goal post service, or you just want to be a fucking biker, you know, go use a GI Bill and go use your GI Bill, live at your mom's house, and buy a Harley. I don't know.
That's all I want to do, man. I want to own it. That's my dream. I'm just trying to build up the confidence to do it, man. I want to own my own shop, but I want it to be like a community center for the club community or for the biker community. And
where's this shop gonna be?
Shit, if it's either gonna be in Riverside, California, or somewhere in Williamsburg, VA, depending on where my next set takes me.
So if your next duty station took you to Virginia, would you stay in Virginia?
Yeah, that's what we're thinking about doing. I think wherever I end up next is just where I'm gonna stay.
And there's absolutely like no OPSEC going on here anymore, or personal OPSEC. It was so great, man. Where are you gonna live? What's your address gonna be? Tell everybody.
Yeah, so my current address is 6969. But no, that's. I mean, I don't give a fuck. There's my mother-in-law listens to this, and like 6 other people. Like that's fine. By the way, hi mom.
She's got to be very pleased with her daughter's choices.
You know what? I'm actually not horrible considering the track record.
Oh, I guess your wife doesn't listen to our podcast.
No, she's just sitting out. She's just sitting out in the dining room listening. That's all. I'll deal with that later. It's fine.
Hey, you know what? This turned out all right for just being a rabbit hole of bullshit in case we can't get on with tragic today.
Yeah, I mean, for you, I think I fucked this up because I came in here drunk. No, I'm gonna have to go eat something, man. Try to sober up a little bit, just in case he hits us up last minute. Like, oh hey, by the way, we're doing it right now.
You know, I think it's a good one though. I think we have a lot of vets on the page, and obviously, like you said, you know, there's a lot of vets in the motorcycle community. Period. We're just 2 guys. Our experiences. I'm a vet. You're active duty still. Our experiences may be completely different than someone else's, but there's probably a lot of similarities in there too that somebody can maybe nod their head while they're listening to this and being like, yeah, fuck, you know, that I feel the same way, or I had those same concerns, or yeah, I only want to hang out with those guys too. And I think maybe, you know, maybe it'll help somebody that's thinking about. I think there's a lot of guys out there, like you've talked about before, that are kind of waiting for post-service to find a club that's right for them. A lot of guys are maybe hesitant, especially now. We have kind of this culture, and I'm trying to. It's not that I'm trying to word it a certain way to like not be an asshole. That's not. I'm trying to think of like the correct way to explain it, but we have a culture where, for better or worse, right now it's easier to cut somebody out that could be a issue rather than taking it at a case-by-case basis. And I don't mean cancel culture, but I think that's what a lot of people come back to. It's easier just to, you know, kind of say, okay, everything is bad and get rid of it with this blanket statement versus look at things objectively. And I think the military is no different. And so there's a lot of people right now that don't want to risk that career or potential career with the club.
You know, I 100% agree with that statement. And I'm telling you guys from experience, right? I was in a motorcycle club for a while. I still know people, obviously, you know, just because I leave a club doesn't mean that my connections or that my connections leave. Look, I know a Master Chief in a traditional 3-piece motorcycle club, still active duty. I know First Class Navy diver. Didn't lose his clearance. He's not going to lose his clearance. It's not a problem, right? I think a lot of people associate just like you said, like there's a negative connotation that just kind of comes with being in a motorcycle club. Thanks, Hollywood. But as long as your club is not on one of the Alphabet Boys lists or it doesn't wear jewelry, you're going to be okay, right? So as an example, right? I'm not going to use club names because I don't have permission from anybody to use club names. If I wanted to join 1%er motorcycle club, I should probably wait till after I'm finished with my career, whether it's you want to retire, whether you get out, whatever. Wait till you're away from the military to start that. Just because there's misconceptions between the government and what actually happens, right? Yeah, I think I said that right. But if you're in a 99% club, or you're looking to join a 99% club, fucking do it. Like, it's not, your job, your security clearance is not going to be on the line. If anybody asks questions, answer them to the best of your ability. Like, hey, look, like, we're just a group of dudes that fucking ride. It's not Sons of Anarchy. It's not the Mayans. But the easiest way to do that, and I think we were just talking to one of my homies in the inbox about that, is the easiest way to do that is just separate them. So when you ride your bike to work, don't put all these fucking stickers on your bike that affiliate you with whatever club. Don't wear your fucking colors on base, and then you're fine. Don't brag about being in a motorcycle club at work and shit like that. Like, I was lucky that my chain of command didn't give a fuck, and they trusted me to make right decisions. As long as whatever I was doing in my personal life wasn't affecting the military or the mission, that's all they cared about. So I was pretty open with the fact that I was in a motorcycle club. But all these dudes knew me, knowing that I wasn't going to be, I'm not some Billy badass, and I'm not going to fucking, do anything to put the mission in danger, especially me being the only one of my rate at my job.
And I think, too, it's going to be an individual decision, because we all know guys that are in 99 clubs that have gotten shit from their commands for being in an MC. It can happen. There's guys that are in 1% clubs that are still serving in the military, and they're serving well. Being in a 1% club has nothing to do with how you can serve in the military. It's just that your command, and like Punk Rock said, a lot of times it can be based on individual commands. How that command climate is, how much shit, or how much leeway your command is going to care or not care about your associations. So it's just something to consider individually when thinking about getting into this.
Yeah, and that wasn't, I just want to clarify something. I wasn't bagging on 1% clubs either, right? And I really hope I didn't come across that way. I'm just saying, for a military member, if you want to go towards a 1% club, it's just a set of headaches that you don't have to deal with if you wait till after your military service. Just that, it's, yeah.
No, I think that came across. I don't think you were disrespectful. I think it came across how you meant to come across.
So.
And for guys that are in, but maybe they're close to their ETS date or retirement, or maybe they've just they've been thinking about clubs, but they're not sure, or they're tired of PFWs or whatever. I can tell you from experience that being in a motorcycle club and being a vet or somebody transitioning out of the service, it can be therapeutic. And I feel like, as rough and tough men, we don't want to talk about that or about that, but it really can be. And again, I hesitate in words like PTSD, because I feel like we assign it to so much that it really can be a crutch for guys. And I'm really kind of like, without being insensitive, I'm very much anti-crutch. Again, I think there's other layers to unpack to what's wrong, or maybe what's affecting somebody, more so than just slapping this label of PTSD on it. But at the very kind of, at the core of it, no matter kind of what the underlying issue might be, being in a motorcycle club can give you, again, that purpose and that place to be with like-minded individuals, especially when so many are fucking veterans. That, again, it can be a different form of, you obviously have to give a lot, but it can be kind of that different form of therapy, other than kind of that media sensation of the VA and pills and this and that.
Yeah. It absolutely is that, you know, because you're gonna have guys that are, you know, that are more kind of in tune with like the mental health scene, if we can call it that, you know, and that want to talk about just kind of like what's going on with their lives with their brothers, right? And then I know a bunch of dudes that just want another guy to just sit in the garage with them. Don't say a fucking word, but just sit over here, fuck off on your phone while, you know, so I'm not alone. You know, and it's kind of like my post. It goes up in what 20 minutes. Check on your fucking brothers, man. You know, because a lot of the, you know, especially with this coronavirus stuff that's going around, um, dudes are, you know, kind of locked in their houses and locked away, and we need to fucking check on our brothers. You know.
Yeah, and I think you know, we started this episode talking about kind of the similarities, and the similarity here is that, you know, in the service, based on your job and the people that you're close to, you're going to have a lot of shared experiences with them. The same thing in the motorcycle community. A lot of us can relate to bike wrecks, or, you know, bike breakdowns, or, beef with other clubs or whatever. People can relate to that, and sometimes I think that's the most. I don't think comforting is the right word, but that place where you can find kind of your. It sounds very hippie-ish, right? But your peace or your center is among people that simply understand what you've gone through or what you might be experiencing without saying a fucking word. Like, you just know that they get it because you have those shared experiences.
Well, yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more, man. And that's why the motorcycle clubs that we know today are here. You know, I think a lot of the clubs from the 50s and the 60s and some of the 70s, they were started because we had these GIs coming home from Vietnam. Vietnam was the big war where when you came home by yourself. You didn't come home as a unit. I think Jim talked about this in the last show. You didn't come home as a unit. Your time was up. You went home. If you had two or three other dudes that made it the same time, cool. But a lot of these guys came home by themselves, and they were fighting what most of American citizens called an unethical war. So they were spit on when they came home. So they don't want to associate with that. They want to be with people that understand them, especially with the shit that they had to go through while they were there. Um, and that's why we have these motorcycle clubs. You know, a lot of these clubs, you look at them, they were started by fucking veterans. They're started by GIs. They're started by all these people who went to war and came home to a country that they recognized, the country recognized their boy coming home, but he didn't recognize the country he came home to. So he started his own nation to find his own peace, to be with his own people.
And, you know, for me, I'm always one. I think more so I'm a defender of what social media can do in a positive way. It can preserve history. You know, it absolutely is a tool that can cause a lot of bullshit. You have to know how to use it. But I'm a fan of how we can preserve history, how we can keep guys connected across the world to your brothers, or to people you served with, or whatever. But, you know, another thing that you see from it, for guys coming home today, I saw it, and you guys, you know, that get out will see it, or whatever. You're already seeing it, obviously. It's very, to be a vet nowadays, to come home from these wars, there's kind of a couple of, it's very politicized, and it's very political. It's very kind of polarized, and I would never like share my thoughts on what side you should be. I don't care. But it's just something to be aware of. People very much attach this stigma is not the right word, but they very much want to attach something to your service based on whatever whatever their goal is. And the same thing with people that, not everybody, but a lot of people that want to thank you for your service want to make money off of you, because right now, you know, in the last few years, so much for like caring for veterans, and we need to do this for vets is great, but there's a huge dollar tag assigned to it, and people realize this, that they can make money off of being about vets. And so it's something to watch out for, that every generation kind of has its thing when it comes home. And this is kind of ours, is that, people want to, and obviously the Vietnam vets that are listening, if we have any, they very much know kind of the political strife that was the 60s and the early 70s in Vietnam. But again, in a different way, our service is very much being used as a political tool, whether you want it to be or not. Some vets want to get into that arena. It's just something to be aware of. And our service for a lot of companies and corporations and government entities means money. Being about the troops means that they're going to be able to get a check. And so it's just something that's kind of different when you come home nowadays.
And on top of that, they're looking at tax breaks too, because it's either if a certain percentage of your workforce is veteran, you'll get a tax break on that too. That's something to be, but that also doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. Like I know, fucking your man crush, old Matt Best from Black Rifle Coffee Company. He hires predominantly vets, but he's doing that shit to help them.
Absolutely,
he's not doing that shit for the tax breaks. But I think
there's tons of good things out there. It's like it's yeah, absolutely. Like you said, there's tons of good things. You just have to know kind of what's good and what's a scam.
Yeah. But I think we could talk about this, yeah, especially like, oh man, if we had Jim on here, this could be a 6-7 hour episode.
I don't even know if Jim would let us talk. But no, I think this was a good episode. I enjoyed doing this.
Yeah, man. I think this is definitely something that we should revisit with the other two. Especially again, Tragic's. I'm interested to hear Tragic's insight and his point of view on having these kind of like both the pompous veteran and the dude that come up and be like, oh yeah, I was in the military, yeah. So yeah, like I like your bike. Can we talk about that? Like I kind of want to hear his take on those.
Especially from somebody like himself coming from such a large 1% club.
Yeah. So, you got any parting words for our listeners today?
Yeah, I'm sure I do. This episode was kind of about vets and like being a vet, not even necessarily in the motorcycle club world, but just being a vet that maybe is interested in looking in the windows and shit like that. This world offers you a lot of great similarities between your time in service and looking for something once you're out of uniform, or being in a vet, being in a club while you're in uniform or whatever. But like anything, it's just kind of up to you what you're gonna get out of it, what it's gonna mean to you, all that kind of stuff. There's no secret that I'm gonna tell you, or that Punk Rock's gonna tell you, or Jim's gonna tell you. It's all gonna be based on individuals, but this is just kind of our experience.
Yeah. The only thing that's required though is you get sweet fuck the world tattoos and then veterans tattoos. So one of those rare self burns.
What's that? Don't be the guy at the bar trying to tell me about your fucking war stories, because I'm gonna want to see your DD-214.
Yeah, for all of your Purple Hearts. But hey, we had a pretty good time filming this today, guys. We appreciate you guys listening. We hope you made it to the end. Yeah, we don't know what we're gonna have planned next week because we don't know what we have planned today. So
we might be recording another episode in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, right. Just let me sober up first. That's all I ask. I want to fuck that one up. That's kind of an important one. But yeah, if you guys are following us on only one social media platform, but you've got multiple, check us out. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify here, all under 4 for the Road. And then if you guys got any questions, that's my big thing, right? If you guys got questions, hit us up in the inbox. And then just give us some time, right? So as we continue to grow, it's kind of slowing down the response time. Um, but we're not ignoring you guys. We got
Uh,
10 letters on
not
staff that are hitting up that inbox as well.
sometimes I'm ignoring you because you ask the same fucking questions 5 fucking times. Tired of answering it, and I'm slightly joking.
There is that guy though. There are a couple people that'll ask, like, "Hey, what color is the sky?" And you say, "Hey, man, it's blue." Like, all right, cool. So, hey, blue is that the color of the sky? Like, yeah, man, you're correct there. Okay. And then Thursday comes around. He's like, "Hey, so would I be correct in assuming that blue is the color of the sky that you told me was blue? That is also the sky that I can also find on the water." I'm like, all right,
So
man, you have fun in Blockland.
I saw your post on the sky being blue. So, in your opinion, is the sky blue? Also, if your brother says that the sky is green and now he's out bad because he said the sky is green, is the sky green or is it blue? Or should I talk to that dude? Or what are you guys having for lunch?
Yeah, right. Jesus fucking Christ. So hey, before we get on another rant, by we I mean me, I appreciate you guys listening, hanging out with us today, and then we'll catch you on the flip side. I guess maybe hit us up in the inbox.